Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Angelic View. I'm your host, Maria Mash, and this is the show where we help you connect with angels so that you can live your best life. And joining me right now is my fabulous co-host, Ginger. Hey, Ginger.
Hey there, Maria. So as you can see, I am anxiously anticipating my trip to Hawaii, and I am super grateful that we were able to pre-record so that we can meet our commitment of being on Sunday at 2 o'clock while I am in the air. So at this moment, I'm probably somewhere over California because I am flying from Dallas to Honolulu. And I imagine at about 2 o'clock, I'll be somewhere. I might actually already be over the Pacific. So it'll be exciting.
Wow,
I'll have
very
real
exciting.
pictures.
Very.
I'll share
And
in February.
oh, that would be great. And, it's a great time that you're doing this because there's this Arctic blast that's like coming through the country. It's been coming through here. People have been experiencing unusually, really, really cold weather, even down here in Southwest Florida. It has been chilly. We've actually had a few nights where we had to put the heat on. That is highly unusual, very, very unusual. So even today, I was out most of the day with my husband. We were, doing some different things, running here and running there, and I actually had a sweatshirt jacket on. It was cool enough for that, and it's that that doesn't happen very often down in Southwest Florida. Winter time or not, no winter time. It's usually beautiful, sunny, in the 80s, low 80s, warm, dry, nice weather. And the nights maybe it goes into the 70s or 60s. It's nothing like what it's been. It's been really cold, but you know what? I'm not complaining because there's people that are dealing with a lot more cold. And I know you're in Virginia. You're not in the worst place for cold weather. I'm from New York originally, so it gets a lot colder in New York, and I know there are places that are getting a lot colder than that even. So, we send you warm thoughts. We're going to connect with angels today, and that should bring in some warm vibrations. So let's go ahead. And it doesn't matter when you're listening to this. Like I said, today is pre-recorded. We're used to doing live shows. We're pre-recording this because of Ginger's upcoming travels, but it doesn't matter. All of our shows, even the live ones, the recordings are out there and people listen to them afterwards after they've been recorded. If we happen to give angel messages or anything like that during the show and a message resonates with you and it's not that you were there live, you know what? That message is for you because that's how the angels work. They will make sure that the right person gets the right message at the right time.
And
So, Ginger, what do we have on?
well, I do want to talk about our live event with the
Mhm.
Angelic Communications Connections.
Yeah,
But since we're on the
that was
topic
great.
of time, my angels are telling me that now is a good time to talk about time and the concept of time. And what's been shared with me by the angelic realm is that time is a construct of the world. And in this 3D world that we walk around in physical bodies, so that we can be in time with each other, so that I could say, hey, Maria, meet me at 2 o'clock. Well, if there wasn't a time that is 2 o'clock, we would not be at the same place at the same time. But from the angelic realm perspective, they see all time simultaneous, which is very confusing if you try to put into, the human construct, like how do you see all time at the same time? But they see everything at the same time. So they know who's going to be listening. And when you seek divine and angelic inspiration, that message is, it may not be, that angelic guide may not be like right now at whatever time it is communicating with me. But when I tune into that request, that information comes to me. So that's how it's been shared with me. Because as someone who has a lot going on, and I'm always looking for a little bit of extra time here or there, time's a very important construct for me. And, being able to understand that the speed at which time goes by, 30 minutes is half an hour, 2 of them is an hour, that unit of time is also just a construct. So what I will say if I have a late night and it's coming an early morning, I'll be like, I need double the amount of infused energy in half the time. So I call it, I need to sleep fast. So I will bring in angelic energy and I will say, tonight I have to sleep fast. It's got to count because I don't have 8 hours. I need 8 hours of sleep, but I've only got 6 hours to do it in. So do you ever?
I remember nights like that. I remember nights like that. Thankfully, I am retired from my muzzle job now, so that my muzzle career, and I don't really have to worry about that unless I have different appointments and things like that. Always, sure, we have that going on, but it's a lot more flexible now, and I have the luxury of choosing times that work better for me. So
well,
I don't have to do too much of that.
I found myself in traffic and I'll appeal to my angels and I'll be like, I cannot be late. And, I'm sitting there looking at the ETA, my Waze ETA says it's going to be 3:05 and I need to be there by 3:00. Somehow you need to fix this for me. And it doesn't always work. There are times when I'm still late, but I have seen instances where, I get the inspiration to not go the route I normally go. It's this route because I know that it should only take 20 minutes, but when I get in the car based on traffic and everything else, it's going to take 30 minutes. And I don't give myself enough spare. So my angels work overtime. There's also that really great bumper sticker that says, "Don't drive faster than your angels can fly."
Don't drive faster than your guardian angel can fly. I love that quote. Matter of fact, that's something I a while ago I was playing around with designing some items for sale, and I actually have them on my website, mariagmas.com, and I have a little store on there, and I designed a keychain with that quote on it and the image of an angel, a silhouette of an angel. With that exact quote. I love that quote.
I love that quote too. So that it does remind me of that. But as we know, our guardian angels are actually present everywhere. But I still like the images of the angels with the wings and, that I was actually looking at one of the things that come up in my feed is Amazing Nature. And it was all of these male birds with rain, and they were protecting the chicks in the nest. And so you had these bright colored birds, and it reminded me very much of that angelic energy of the wings surrounding you to protect you from the rain.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
really pretty.
That's a nice thought. Well.
So we wanted to talk about the event on Saturday, which was fabulous. The energy was great, and it was wonderful to be in 111 at 1:00, and it lasted a lot longer than 11 minutes. And
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah. So that was
it was a nice conversation, not too long, not too short. I think we got into a lot of interesting topics and so forth like that. I enjoyed doing the exercise, the magic eye exercise. I think it might have frustrated some people, but they just have to give it a few tries. Sometimes it's something that you have to try a few times. You'll be able to do it eventually. But the whole point of the whole exercise, it just, to me, it made sense, because we're talking about connecting with angels. And to do that, we have to be able to make that shift in our perception, in the way that we we see and we hear and we communicate, and knowing that there is another realm, and that realm isn't that far off. It's really right here, but we just need to shift our perception so that we can cross into that and then back again, so that we can connect, we can get messages, we can get little glimpses of the other side, so to speak. And that not only works for connecting and communicating with angels, but also for our departed loved ones as well, because they're right there. They're right next to us all the time. And, that after we had that, the meeting on the 11th there, our Angelic Connections community group that meets. And if anybody that is interested in joining, it's free right now. For anyone who is a viewer of the Angelic View show, if you want to join our community, Angelic Connections community, where we will have these live meetings, it's not on a regular set schedule right now. People that get on my mailing list will be notified. So if you go to my website, mariagmaas.com, that's MariaGmaas.com, and you get on my newsletter list, not only will you get a free journal to download and a free ebook, but you'll now get information about when we're having our Angelic Connection community meetings, which will be free for 3 months if you go to my website and you go to the Angel Practitioner Academy and look for the Angelic Connections community and sign up there. You will use the code Angelic View as the coupon code. So you won't be paying the fee. It's normally set at $144 for the year, but you'll get it free for 3 months if you use the coupon code Angelic View for the title of our show. Okay, ANGELICVIEW, but put the coupon code in as all one word, no spaces like in the regular name, Angelic View, and you'll get a free 3 months. But what was fun about that is we did the magic eye exercise, and we, I forgot where I was going with that. I got into so much explaining how to get there. Do you remember where I was going?
Yeah, I think that you were going to say some of the stuff that we talked about. First, it was just really nice to, as a community, meet, and we were all on camera. Almost everybody's on camera. And so it gave you an opportunity to put a face with the name. It was a lot of our usual listeners. So it was nice to be able to see them and to have a two-way dialogue. One of the things that Maria and I are considering for our live shows is the possibility of publishing a Zoom link where you would be able to come in, you'd be sitting in a waiting room, and we would let people in one at a time to do readings. So I think that's something that we're going to consider doing. And I've got some ideas for our next Angelic Connections session, a little bit more opportunity to grow the community and to have some dialogue and a little bit smaller groups. We wound up with, was it 10 people? So we appreciate.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I think there was there was 9 of us all together.
Yeah. So we appreciate everybody that joined.
There was.
We had.
It was.
Yeah. So,
we don't record those sessions, by the way. We don't record them because we want everyone to feel comfortable, to be able to talk freely, about anything that the topics that come up. We don't want people to feel like, oh, well, this is going to be on camera now. A lot of people will be seeing it. It's only the group that's there, and it's for that time, and then it's gone. It's not recorded. So, you can feel comfortable about that. But we did those exercises, and those exercises were, to show you that just something isn't what it is on the surface. And we looked at a picture, and it was an image that is initially 2-dimensional, but as you gaze at it, it starts to form a 3D image. And a new image emerges from the original image. And it's not something that you see at first glance by any means, but it's in there and it's there all the time. And once you make that connection and you're able to make that shift and perceive and view that 3D image within the 2D image, now, however long you can hold it, it's there until maybe you blink and then it goes away. And now I remember what it was that I was going to say. That after that show, I'm sorry, it wasn't a show, after that meeting that we had that day, I didn't think of it at the time during the meeting, but afterwards, it reminded me of an experience that I had with seeing an actual spirit. Okay. I never saw a spirit before with my physical eyes until this one time. It was somewhere around New Year's time of year. And at the time, I wasn't living here in Southwest Florida, but my husband and I were visiting, and we would visit with his mom and her husband. And the house was quiet. I was up earlier than everyone else, and I was doing some laundry. Okay, now, when you do something like that, it's a mundane task where you don't really have to concentrate so hard on what you're doing. You could think about other things and you could kind of let your mind go. And it's a form, it's a way of meditating in a way, because it's just relaxing and you're just, folding or whatever. At that point, the clothes were dry and I was folding the clothes. I was standing in the laundry room and I was just doing that. I wasn't really thinking about much of anything at all. I was just folding the clothes. And as I looked up I could see out from the laundry room across into the living room on the far end. There's a family room. I was looking through the kitchen and into the family room because it's like one big great room. And as I looked up, I saw my husband's deceased grandmother standing there, full body, standing in her blue bathrobe. And I looked, and I just went like this. I blinked my eyes, and I looked, and she was gone. She wasn't ghostly looking. She wasn't transparent. She looked like the way she looked, and she was standing there. And in a second, she was gone. Well, I couldn't wait. I didn't want, he was sleeping. I didn't want to wake him up. Well, I waited for him to get up. When he got up, I told him what happened. And he said, "You're not going to believe this." I'm like, "What?" He says, "I had a dream about my grandmother this morning." He says, "I woke up and it was like she was standing there looking at me, standing at the bed. And I said, "Was she wearing the blue robe?" He says, "Yeah, she was wearing the blue robe." He says, "But she also he saw her with something like covering her hair, like a covering, like a hat or something that she was going to maybe go to the beach. But she was wearing this blue robe that could be a bathing suit cover up too, if you think about it that way. It was like a blue terry cloth robe." And that was it. When he said that, I knew that it wasn't just, a strange occurrence that I could have just imagined, because of the timing. When you talk about timing, he's in there sleeping, having this dream, and I look up and I see his grandmother, and he's having a dream about her at the same time.
So I have an interesting angel message that I'm dealing with right now. So last night when I was asleep, the person that used to live in my house, because there was a family that built it in 1920, and they pretty much lived in it through the 70s into the 80s. And in the 80s, they sold it and it changed hands a couple of times. And then I purchased it in 2019. And I know that one of the early inhabitants visits or stays here a lot. And we've had some differences. And last night I was asleep and I kept getting this message. You should decorate with blue. You should decorate with blue. I'm like, no, I don't want to decorate with blue. I like decorating with like yellows and greens and, bringing the outside in, not necessarily the sky. And so but I had like this little battle in my dream about, you should decorate with blue. And now you're talking about a blue bathrobe. So one of the things that I know is energy is very color infused. And as a matter of fact, there are people that don't feel like they can see energy. I usually use color in my shop. I have one of my vendors, one of the brands I carry is called Color Energy, and they're out of Canada. And blue is really an important color for communication. So I noticed that several of your angelic communication cards have blue as one of the featured colors in them. And so
Yeah.
I'm sitting here looking at my January list, which is also blue. So that's telling me that I really need to communicate more clearly. And part of that is this month, I'm also working heavily on my crown chakra and connecting to my guides and the angelic realm in general, and source energy. And I do know, because when I'm teaching classes, I tell people this, you have to be clear with your communications. And, it's like if I get 35 as an answer, well, I don't know what question they think they're answering because I didn't really ask a question that 35 is pertinent to. Like blue. I'm not asking what should I work on and getting blue, but I continue to see that. And angel numbers can be the same way. You didn't ask a question, but you start seeing angel numbers. So it's a good idea it's on the internet. You can type in angel number 222 and it'll tell you what that person's interpretation is. And then just like the magic eye, you have to soft focus on that. You can't tune in to the literal thing that you're reading on the screen about 222. You have to say, okay, well, this says that, how does that pertain to my life or what I was doing at the moment? So getting those, there was a church that I went to and they called them God winks, when God winks at you. And I've heard people say, well, every time I see a cardinal, I know that that my mother's thinking of me in heaven, So I do a lot of, if you want me or you need me, you better interrupt me because I'm moving. I got a lot going on. And so seeing all of this blue in the last 24 hours is reminding me that while I've got a lot going on, I need to make sure that I share it and communicate it properly with people. Otherwise, they can't help me. So thank you for being part of my guides communicating that blue reinforced again. Like, okay, yeah.
It's very important. Yeah, and blue, communication is the throat chakra. So that's why that color is connected with that. So, and a great archangel to work with for communication is Archangel Michael, and he's right there over my left shoulder here. And he's my go-to. He's my go-to angel for just about almost anything and everything. And that brings me to the next the topic we were going to talk about today. How do you prepare yourself for a reading? And I think it's important. That's a very important question, not just for readers, but also for those getting a reading, because there's ways you can prepare yourself to get a reading as well, not just giving a reading. But would you like to start talking about that, or would you like me to continue?
One of the things that I do, I was not really a consumer of readings. And that was not something that I spent my time and
Hmm.
resources consuming throughout my life. Um, but occasionally, now that I'm actually asked to do readings, I will ask other people to give me a reading, in part because it
Hmm.
it's the continuous,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to gain things from how they're doing readings. So I had the opportunity to have a reading at Nature's Treasures, which is a lovely store located in Austin, Texas. And they have a full-time readers, so there's always somebody there that can read for you. And I have readers in my shop almost all the time. It would be unusual for you to either call the shop when we're open or to be there and not be able to get a reading. Um, and if I'm in the shop, I actually do free readings for based on the chakra of the month. So I can tell you what's going on with your crown chakra later if you want me to. Um, and it was just such a beautiful intro for reading. Um, she, did just like an energetic cleansing, cleansed the deck, and then called in her angels. And the words that she spoke were just so comforting. It was like, make this reading, allow the wisdom of the angels to come through me, to be in Ginger's best interest at this time as we meet here today. Bless this opportunity for both of us, that we will both share joy as a result of this meeting or this reading. And I was like, that is so lovely. And then at the end, she closed the energy down and, gathered her decks, cleared them again, and it was just really great. When I'm doing my readings, I like to start making sure that the business side is clear. The plan for this reading is we're going to do 30 minutes. I'm setting my timer on my phone. It'll chime when it's time. And then if we're still in the middle of things, I'll wrap up. I don't go, oh, now you owe me another $1 for another minute.
Yeah, right.
Just to kind of, so I can be totally involved with them and not have to be thinking about the time and wondering where I am with that. I just set my timer on my phone and then move my phone out of my way so I'll be able to hear it, but it's not distracting me. And then we talk about the money and how the payment's made or has been made or whatever. And then, I'll be like, so this is what we've agreed to. Yes. And then I said, okay, now and set the business part aside. I'm going to really tune into things spiritually. And I do a physical cleansing like this, that, it goes through my third eye and down around through my throat chakra, opening things up and then back,
Mhm.
so I'll do that as a way of raising my vibration physically. One of my girlfriends that I taught that cleansing ritual to, she goes, oh, I love it. She goes, it's like you're cleaning the cobwebs out. And she was like, you're just making the stream go faster. And then I will do the reading. And then at the end of the reading, before I'm completely finished, I will say, do you have any questions for me? Because one of the things I do, because I do a lot of different readings, is I completely cut the energy and cleanse after a reading. So I'm not carrying any of that. So if you call me 2 days from now and say, you mentioned da da da, and I want more information, it's gone. I stay so tuned into spirit that I can be as clear a conduit as possible. So it's not me telling you things, it's actually spirit using me as a vehicle. And because of that, what I find is if I cut the energy cleanly, I can do readings all day. I do not get tired. I don't get jittery. I don't get confused because I make sure that I cut that energy so I'm not carrying the last reading into the next reading. So that to me is the most important thing is that clear, this is what the business part is. Stop that. This is what open to spirit, be able to, divine everything that you can beyond the veil, and then close it down, make sure that they don't have any questions or there isn't anything pending, and then just really cut the energy. And then that reading is over. What do you do?
Well, I have a few different ways that I prepare. It depends on the type of readings that I'm doing and the location. Is it a reading that a client has booked a phone reading with me, and it's going to be one person that I'm maybe going to sit with on the telephone for an hour? If I do something like that, it's a little bit more elaborate because I have the time. And what I'll do is I'll spend like maybe 20 minutes or so before I even get on the phone with the person. And I will say my prayer. I have a special prayer that I say when I start. And, that's to, cleanse and protect and raise vibrations and help open the lines of communication. And I call in Archangel Michael to preside over the reading. And, I have a little, this little ritual that I go through. And, I usually, I'm in a space where it's quiet, I'm undisturbed. I make sure I put my phone on do not disturb, my computer. I make sure that, nothing is going to interrupt. I have my crystals that I want out. Sometimes I have a candle burning. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I might spray with sage. Sometimes I don't. It just, it depends. I don't do every single thing to a T. Okay, but what I do when I do these longer phone readings is I do a guided meditation, and I have a version of the meditations that I use in my book, the Angel Practitioner Handbook, a foundation guide. And I also have a version of the prayers that I use to prepare for these readings. So if you're interested in that and seeing the details of it, you could just pick up a copy of the Angel Practitioner Handbook, a foundation guide. It's also something that I teach in a Certified Angel Practitioner course. If you go to my website, mariagmoss.com, you could find out information about the book, about the course, about all of that. And of course, the book is also available in Kindle, on Amazon Kindle, on Barnes & Noble, Nook, and anywhere you pick up books online and get ebook versions. And paperback versions you can pick up through the same way, or you can stop in a store like Ginger's, like Faith Crystals in Emporia, Virginia, and pick up a copy of the book. Just saying it. Okay, so I do these meditations, and then I do kind of an automatic writing is what I start doing. I have a actual paper and either a paper and a pen, or I sit with my computer on my lap and I just start typing. And that's more of the way I've been doing it lately, because I could just type. I could type really fast without, it's much more clear than my scribble. Because when I tend to do it right by hand, it tends to be sloppier. So then afterwards, when I come out of meditation, I really start reading through it. Now it's like my handwriting is a little sloppy and I have to make it more clear. But what I would do is I will take my notes from that. And when I get on the telephone with the person, before we even begin their reading, I'll ask them if they'd like me to share this with them. And then, of course, they usually do. And I'll share whatever I got. And most of the time, what ends up happening is the question that they were coming to the reading for is answered within this part of the reading. And then that will leave us time to go on to other things that they want to look into. And then I'll pull some cards from them, tarot cards from my deck, the Angelic View Oracle cards. I have other Oracle decks sometimes that I use. So, that's kind of how I prepare and get myself for a full-length reading like that. I've done readings in public venues where you don't have the luxury, you're doing maybe a lot of readings. I've done readings at events where the readings are just maybe 10 minutes each. I've done readings at parties where maybe you're 20 minutes, 15 minutes with different people throughout the course of the night. So now you have to keep, you have to cleanse and you clear yourself and the energy and get ready for the next person and the next person and the next person. And the way I have a quicker version of the prayer that I do with that. And also when I do readings on the show, I did a lot of radio shows over the years with Blog Talk Radio. The Angelic Realms radio show was one of them. I did so many readings that way. And now Ginger and I on the Angelic View doing YouTube lives. I use my tarot deck. I use my deck, the Angelic View Oracle cards. And what I do is I'll take a deck and I'll put my hands, I'll hold the deck in the palm face down on my left palm with my right hand on top. And I'll just, quickly say my prayer to myself in my head. And then I'll knock on the cards. Between each reading, I'll do a quick knock. You'll see me go like that. You might see me blow on them. These are to clear the energy from the previous reading out before I start shuffling again. Sometimes I will ask the person, back when we were doing the radio show and I had the person actually on the telephone line, I'd say, okay, concentrate with me, and then I'd say my little prayer and I'd say, I'd ask the angels, I now ask my angels and spirit guides to communicate with, I'll say, Ginger's angels and spirit guides. Please help me to see, hear, feel, or know whatever I most need to know, whatever Ginger most needs to know. That's in her highest good and in the highest good of all concerns. And we'll concentrate, and I'll start shuffling, and I'll say, let me know when to stop shuffling. And, that way they are interacting in the reading with me. So I have these different ways of doing it. So I could do it, a longer ritual, if you want to call it, or I can do it short and sweet.
So if you have somebody and you're doing a live reading for somebody, do you let them touch your cards? Because that's one of those
yes. I know. When I was doing readings in person, I rarely do that type of thing anymore. It's mostly now on the phone. Okay. But I did so many events with so many people, and I had a deck that I would use for these readings that wouldn't be the deck that I would use for myself, my personal readings. Okay, I had a separate deck for that. That's my tarot deck. The oracle cards I use kind of with everybody, but I had a separate tarot deck. But yes, I would let people touch the cards, and I'll tell you why. Because when they take the cards, and I'd shuffle, and then I'd pass it to them and let the person shuffle, because now their energy is getting in there. And some people don't like that, okay? But I never had a problem with it, and I clear the deck each time. I would even later go home and, sage it or whatever I have to do. But, just visualizing the white light of the Holy Spirit coming down, and Archangel Michael with his flashing sword, and just tapping the cards and saying clear, and envisioning any energy that's in there just falling out and being disintegrated and neutralized. That's kind of what I envision. And everything is about intention. Okay, so that is the intention that I put in there, and that's what works. I've never had a problem with it.
That's one of those questions that comes up a lot when I'm talking to people who are, everybody has an opinion, and there's people that haven't formed their opinion yet. Yes. So they're like, well, do you let people touch your cards? I'm like, yes. What do you do about protection? And I'm like, I have no concerns that anything dark is going to, come through and find me, right. And there are people that do. And I will say though, that before I started, really opening up myself to any, to things that were not 100% in, Christianity. Like I prayed to God and I got answers, but I never would have considered taking a mediumship course. Like I'm certified medium through the the International Angelic Association, and I thoroughly enjoyed the course. But it was not something that I would have done previously. And I was working with a famous psychic who has a store here in Richmond, but he's not in Richmond. And since he didn't return my email the last 2 times I've tried to reach out to him, I'm not going to say his name. But we had this wonderful interaction one day when we spent about 4.5 hours together. And during that time, I said, yeah, I don't feel like you should open a door that you don't know how to close. And he was like, that is very, very, very wise. And so when I decided to move into exploring intentionally moving beyond the veil and intentionally opening myself up to, the angelic realm, as well as past loved ones and even past not loved ones, I was very intentional about how I went about that. I was very intentional about who I received training from. I was very intentional about the whole process, but I have always been very clear before I did this. Now I always surround myself with light. I just surround myself with light all the time. I rarely get ill. I am able to produce far more work than the average bear. Things come very quickly to me, and it is because it's an intentionality. When I feel myself feeling ill, I will cocoon myself in an image of, like, the old sun tanning beds, the clamshell tanning beds. I imagine that I'm in, it looks like, that's how I would describe it to you, like a sun tanning bed, and it's green healing light. And I will just wrap myself in that green healing light as I'm getting ready to go to sleep. And my grandchildren, I'll do the same thing. I'll wrap them in green healing light, and I will, there are times when, just like you do with your card deck, the way I bestow blessings on my children is exactly that same way. I will see them completely surrounded by brilliant light. And then the next visualization that I do is, the old Star Trek movies, how you got beamed up. Beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's like you're in a tube of light, and then I ask Source to pull all energy that is not to that person's direct benefit. Anything that can be impeding their healing, etc. And I will, see that rise up for Source to mutate, exchange, and redirect. And, so that's one of the ways that I work with visualization when I'm doing healings. But I personally have never felt a need to, wear something for protection or carry something for protection. The angels are with you all the time.
Right. I feel safe, and once I call on Archangel Michael and I envision either a white light or a blue light surrounding me, I know that I'm protected. It's like the angels. Archangel Michael is the main archangel that I call upon when I do my readings. I mean, that might not be the one for everyone, but he works for me. And it's, I have other spirit guides that I work with too. I have my master guides. I have my spirit guides. I have different spirit guides. I have a spirit guide for my tarot readings. And my tarot guide. I have guides for mediumship readings. I have different guides for different types of mediumship readings, depending on if it's, an older, an adult, or maybe it's a child that's crossed over, adult, it's an animal. I have different guides for different things. Okay, I have my psychic guide that works with me for psychic readings. Depending on the kind of readings, I always call in Archangel Michael to start with, and then I call in different guides. And if I forget to call them in, it doesn't mean that they're not going to come through. It's just, but sometimes it helps me to open up and be ready to receive the information that comes through. Another thing that I used to do for cleansing afterwards is, especially when I was doing an event where I was, doing readings for a lot of people, and that's a lot of energy now. When I would come home, I'd take a shower at night, and as the water would be washing over me, and I would have my salt scrub. I had Himalayan sea salt scrub, and I would scrub down with that, and I would do, a visualization and just imagine like any energy there, that was not of mine, or that, didn't belong, just to get washed away in the drain and be neutralized and go away. So
That's also
there's all different ways
that's
you
also a
can do
really
it.
good idea when you're spending time,
Yeah,
especially this time of year. So
it's practical too.
very practical, very practical.
Yeah.
That's very true. There was something that came to me when you were talking about the various distinct angels. That is something that I am learning from you, and when I took the certified angelic practitioner course, I learned a lot more about the archangels than I had ever known previously. What's interesting is that just having, and at first I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was studying for a biology exam, which I'm not good with vocabulary, but I am good with colors. So remembering the color that's associated with the angel, I also have a lot of intuitive understanding of colors. So it makes sense to me. It's just like, oh, well, this attribute, this color, this angel all go together. So that's one of the ways that I'm more able to tune into a specific angelic presence is by actually thinking of the color first, and then I remember the name. So it's whatever tricks work for you.
Right.
So I think that we were going to do just a couple of quick angel messages for people, like we were talking about before. I think that your angels have found you here all the way towards the end of this this opportunity to hear Maria and I go on about our angelic practices. And this could be why you're here. So we're going to just kind of cleanse and tune in. So I'm picking up on some New Year's resolution questions about someone's working through how they're going to handle New Year's resolutions. So Maria, do you want to get a card while I take it deeper and
Sure.
what will
Sure.
here?
I'm going to ask my angels and spirit guides to now communicate with the angels and spirit guides of our viewers, and whoever happens to tune in that needs an angel message right now. Let's have a message that will resonate with them. And for those that it resonates with, know that it's for you. It doesn't matter what time, what day, what month, what year you happen to tune into this program. If it clicks with you and resonates with you, it's for you. I got 777 is the angel number 777. Yeah, I have in my deck the angelic oracle cards. I also have angel numbers within the deck. That's just one of the types of cards that are in that deck. And this is pay attention to repeating numbers. This is what's written on here, what I wrote. Seeing repetitive numbers of sevens are a sign that you are becoming more aware of divine guidance and are advancing in your spiritual growth and development. So I would think anybody who has watched this program this far has to be pretty into their spiritual development and picking up different tips and tidbits of information and ways to experience that growth and development. So be aware, if you happen to see yourself finding yourself seeing sevens in a lot of places. Maybe you walk out of the grocery store or whatever, and you got $77.77 on your receipt. And it's 4 sevens, or maybe you I say, hey, for these days, that's pretty darn good too, right? Let's say you're driving down the road and you stop at a red light, and you happen to glance at the license plate in front of you, and like, there's another batch of sevens, 777. And then you come home and you turn on the television, and there's some phone number that's flashed across the screen, and it's got a lot of sevens in it. Well, you're seeing these repeating patterns. The angels are talking to you. They're letting you know, okay, you are starting to really open up to your spiritual development. So that's one of the signs. Okay.
So what I divined, or what came through to me, was as far as goal setting or resolutions, or that's a commitment to yourself. And we should always keep our commitments to ourselves, even over those commitments we make to other people, because we should be putting especially our spiritual growth, as a priority. So the word that comes to me is attune. So I'm not sure whether that is to become attuned, or you are attuned. But I would definitely say that with the 777 and the word attune, and talking about goal setting, is to, feel free to call for spiritual help and guidance and extra backing. And that extra backing may be the difference between being successful in maintaining your goals and sticking with your New Year's resolutions or not. So that's the first reading. Do you want to tune into another need, or you want me to do that part? Do we want to alternate?
Say that again.
I said, do we want to alternate? Do you want to tune into a need and then we'll do a reading, or do you want me to do that part?
Tune into a need?
Yes, like I did just a minute ago, that there was a need for an angel message with that context.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Okay. All right. So the next one has to do with relationships, and I'm looking a little eye rolly because I don't like doing readings on relationships. You're in the relationship, figure it out. But okay, I'll be gentler than that. And let me get some guidance to share with you about the subject of relationships.
I'm going to pull a card while you're doing this.
Yeah, do that.
For relationships. That's what I feel inspired to do, so I'm going to do it.
I'm getting.
Would you like me to start?
Yeah, I'm ready for you. I've got what I've got.
Okay.
I can't
tread
see.
cautiously. Okay, I pulled the card from my tarot deck, 7 of Swords. Okay, and this card, this is the greatest energy when it comes to a relationship. So there could be something that I feel like somebody's holding something back. They're not saying what's truly going on. They're keeping something back. And it has to do with communication because it's swords, okay? So maybe you're the one that's holding back and in communicating really what needs to be said in the relationship. Because, in order to have a relationship, communication is key. You need to have a clear, open line of communication. That if you can't speak your truth with somebody that you're in a partnership with, well, it's not much of a partnership. That's the message I got.
Oh, interesting. So, what came to me, the message for me was I had a conversation with Source like 7 or 8 years ago, and was along the lines of how many lifetimes it takes to perfect whatever it is that we're here to learn as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, what are we here to learn as human beings? And the answer was like, you're not going to understand what it is I'm trying to say, because that's the whole thing. If you understood it, you would be done. But the idea is being able to be one with all things while remaining the individual. So it's the dichotomy between, we are connected to everything. You are already in a relationship with this person, yourself, and with everyone. So you have to be able to become integrated and meshed into that relationship, so such that it's symbiotic enough that you can't tell where one stops and where the other ends, but you have to know it. You have to know where one stops and the other one ends. So how do you balance that compromise? That word came through, compromise, to get along without giving up more than you should. So it's actually really exciting to me to do these types of things, because there's a lot of meat in that. But that's really the point at this moment about this reading, is that it is really going deep into the lesson of the relationship with yourself, being honest, clear communications, and being willing to look yourself in the eye and admit that you want what you want, and that you're willing to give what you're willing to give. And knowing where those boundaries are for you as an individual is powerful. It's really powerful. So I'm sorry that I said I didn't want to do a reading on relationships, because that was a really good.
I want to add to.
Go ahead.
I'm going to add to this too. The card that I got for the first reading was 777, and then the card that I pulled for the second reading was the 7 of Swords. Yeah. So 7 is an important number. Okay, it's an important number for anyone that's listening to this tonight, that it resonates with. It's 7s in numerology are it's about a new awareness. Okay, so earlier in the first reading we were talking about spiritual growth and development, becoming spiritually aware. Okay, and then the second one, this is about communication and needing to not being aware of something that's being said, and having to maybe not coming out and saying what needs to be said on your end. So the 7s are important. It's about awareness, being aware, and being aware of everything around you, aware of your surroundings, aware of your own strengths, your own weaknesses, and being aware that with relationships, like we were talking about, it's very important to communicate and being able to speak your truth. Okay, because swords are about communication. Okay, so either somebody's holding back or you're holding back, and those 7s, keep your eye out for those 7s, because 7s are letting you know, okay, the angels are getting your attention, and they're letting you know you're opening up to becoming more spiritually aware of how to communicate with them, and they want to communicate with you.
So I think that we are close to our time. we should probably wrap
I
things
think
up.
so.
And
Yes.
this has
And
been really fun, Maria. I've enjoyed it.
it is. I really enjoy doing it this way too. You know, it's not live with folks in the chat room or with callers on the phone lines, but we talked about a lot of topics. So hopefully anybody that comes across this podcast and happens to, you know, watch through it, that they got some interesting information and information that helps them grow spiritually and so forth, and spiritual development. I want to mention that again, we really would love for you to join us in the Angelic Connections community, which is now part of the International Association of Angel Practitioners and the Wayshower Fellowship community. Is that how, am I saying it correctly?
It's WCF, Wayshowers Community Fellowship, but that's okay.
I keep reversing those. Because you got Angelic Connections community, Wayshowers Community Fellowship.
So what we can do is we will put together a list and links and have those uploaded into the description of the podcast. So we can do that for you. My personal website is www.free, the word, to the number, be the letter, and free the word. Free to be free. And that's really the energy that I've moved into my spirituality with is, you know, I actually took a course maybe 2 years before I started that with someone that was talking about like really being free, like really being limitless. And I started crying, you know, it was awful because I was like, that is the scariest thing ever. I mean, what if you really didn't have any limits? What if the only limits you have are what you put on yourself? And it took me probably about 2 years to decide, yes, that's what I want. I want to be truly free and I'm still working on it, you know, but I've stated it. That is my website, Free to Be Free. My business is Faith Crystals, and the full name there is Faith Crystals and More. But you'll find it under Faith Crystals on Facebook. And there's lots of ways that you can reach out to us directly whenever you do find this recording. And we'd love to hear from you. Hope that we made a difference in your life and that it was worth the investment of your time. So thank you for spending time listening to us.
And we're going to be back on Sunday, February 2nd, live. We'll be on that live at 2 p.m. Eastern. Sunday, February 2nd, live at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Psychic.Cafe network. Okay, so with the Angelic View, it will return Sunday, February 2nd, live at 2 p.m. Eastern. And we thank you all for joining us. Visit mariagmaas.com, mariagmaas.com for any of the links and the different information we spoke about today, and along with Ginger's website. One more time, Ginger, your website?
It is www.free2befree. It is the number 2 and the letter B. That's FREE, the number 2, the letter B, FREE.com. Thanks so much, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Angel blessings.
I have to find oh, there it is. Okay. We're really going to say goodbye now. Bye.